All right, what is up? We live. We are live. We'll give it a minute. Let some people roll in. I guess to get started, I'll just hit on some breaking news that's going on. Just some inactives that are coming out. Terrace Marshall out against the Giants. Sony Michel looks like he's expected to play Sunday. AJ Brown's going to be fine for Sunday. If you didn't catch the news already, Tampa Bay has some injuries. AB is out. Gronk is out. The Giants have a lot of guys out as well. Kenny G is out. Tony is out. Saquon is out. Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, Slayton, all questionable. So we'll get into some of these names as we talk Week 7 today. What's up? What's up, Jack? What's up, Qui-Gon? Always in here. I respect that, Qui-Gon. What's up, Carlos? Thanks for joining. Carlos comes at us with a question right off the bat. This will get us warmed up here. Who would I rather pick up this week? Jarrett Patterson or Ramondre Stevenson? You need an RB2. I'll tell you this. I'm going to go Ramondre there. It looks right now, Antonio Gibson an hour ago said that he's confident that he's going to play this week. So if Gibson's active, they got McKissick there as well. I expect them to be behind in that game script against Green Bay. I don't know if Patterson's going to get a lot of work, so I'd go Ramondre Stevenson there, and you hope he gets 6 to 8 carries, maybe a couple of targets, and go from there. It's a tough one out there this week. It's a tough one. Qui-Gon's playing AB this week. All right, Bamboo, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Callaway or Mooney? I actually like Mooney this week. I've got him in a couple of DFS lineups as is. The targets have been there for Darnell Mooney all season, really. I mean, last week, 8 targets. Before that, 5, 7 targets. Week 1 and 2, 7 and 8 targets. So he's had weeks where the targets are there. The Bears play Tampa this week. Their secondary is super beat up. So to me, I think you can roll Mooney out there. Callaway has the big play potential, but I could see that game on Monday being a little bit nasty. So Callaway's given you one performance you're really happy with, and that was in week 5. So I'm just not trusting it. He really needs that big play to be relevant, and I just don't know if it's going to happen. I got you, Carlos. Also, while we're at it, repping the Colts here today. Got the new Colts jacket this week. I got it from Ultra Game, who is actually the number 1 licensed NFL brand on Amazon. So they're linked below if you want to check it out. They got some pretty sweet stuff. Super high quality stuff too. So just wanted to share it with everybody out there. If you're looking for some nice team gear, good price, good product too. But we'll keep rolling through some of these questions. Just had to give my Colts a shout out there with the fresh jacket. But Qui-Gon asks, is Javonte going to take it from this point on? Or is this a glimpse? Unfortunately, I think it's just a glimpse. We were talking about this a little bit in our Discord. That link's below as well. But Javonte, he looked great in this game through the air. 6 for 32, 7 targets. He had the touchdown, 4 for 20 on the ground. Only played 42% of snaps. Melvin Gordon still played 58% of snaps. So I like what I saw from Javonte. I think at some point when Melvin Gordon is gone, like Javonte is going to be that guy. If he's a workhorse, I think he's got the talent to be dominant. But to me, unless Melvin gets hurt, I just don't know if they're going to give it all to Javonte because Melvin Gordon's playing okay as well. Javonte's been better, but yeah, I think Javonte will take over eventually. I just don't know if it's going to be this year. Jeff, what up, dude? Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for hanging out last time. Appreciate you. Wade, I love seeing some of the similar names in here. If you're new, welcome. If you're back, glad you're here. Wade, is Ruggs substantiable? I'm guessing that's supposed to say sustainable. We'll go with that one. I like Ruggs. We talked about Ruggs on our full podcast this week, actually. Check that out if you haven't already on our channel. It's called, what's it called? It's called Breakout Players. Should you or should you not buy the hype? I forgot what the exact title is, but Ruggs is one of the guys on there, and I think he is sustainable as a flex. I mean, you look at Ruggs, the targets haven't really been there this year, only seeing 5-ish targets a game, but he's averaging 22 yards per catch. So he is what we thought he was. He's the deep threat. He's the touchdown threat. So the weeks where he hits you with that big play or two, you're going to be happy, but he's going to have down weeks. Luckily, this year, the floor has been a little bit higher Week 4, 3 for 60. Week 5, 3 for 51. Not great games, but it's better than 1 for 25. So I think Ruggs is a flex play for the rest of the season if you want that upside. Jack, appreciate you. Who's a good wide receiver trade target with giving up McLaurin? So you're trying to trade Terry. That's a tough one. I'd probably be looking. I mean, Terry for me is a top 12 receiver for the rest of the year. So you're looking at your Adams, your Hill, your Diggs, who I'd take over him, but no one's going to trade those guys for Terry McLaurin. I would probably just hang on to him. I know he's been a little bit banged up, but I'm not really into these 1-for-1 trades at a position unless I have a reason to be super concerned. And I think McLaurin's actually going to be fine. Flair Socks. What up? Trade Cordarrelle and Waddle for CEH and Javonte. Well, this is very contextual because it all depends on who is in your starting lineup and who's not. I honestly think I might take Cordarrelle over CEH for the rest of the season. CEH being banged up when he comes back. I just don't know how effective he's going to be coming back from that injury. And we've also seen Darrell Williams be good, and he's been involved even when CEH is active. And Cordarrelle is hyper involved in the passing game. So I'll probably lean Cordarrelle there, honestly. And then I'll Waddle versus Javonte. Javonte's good running back depth, but like I just said when I was talking, about to Qui-Gon about is Javonte going to take off? I don't know if that happens this season if Melvin's active. So Waddle looks good. I think I'd take the Cordarrelle and Waddle side. All right. Carlos, if Damian Williams makes the COVID protocol, would you play him over Stevenson? Ooh, over Stevenson, I would. And these are the kind of decisions we're going to be making this week. Really, if Damian's in, Khalil Herbert's looked great. So it's going to be a split against a tough Tampa Bay defense. But Damian Williams is definitely the pass catching back. Khalil Herbert's not. It's not like his main skill set. So if Damian's in, I don't know if he's going to have a lot of effectiveness on the ground. But over Stevenson, I think you can hopefully rely on Damian Williams for 3, 4, maybe 5 targets in this game, and maybe he gets you value that way. Big BS. Thanks for hanging out. You have Collins. Should you wait until some news comes out and drop him for Penny, or drop Stevenson, Dillon, or Gainwell for Penny? I wouldn't drop any of those guys for Rashad Penny. I'm skeptical about Penny. Every time he's come back from anything, I'll pull up kind of his career game log here. I mean, he played, 13% of snaps in week 1 this year. In 2020, he played in 3 games, never saw more than 6 carries. In 2019, he played 10 games. He missed 6 of them, and most of those he was barely getting any snaps. I mean, this guy's had like 1 or 2 games in his career. He had the one game in 2019 where he had 15 for 74 and a touchdown, and then through the air 4 for 33 and a touchdown. Outside of that, I mean, arguably there's a game or 2 where he was okay in 2018, but like he's never been able to get it done consistently for fantasy. So I'm not really interested in Penny. Can Damian Harris play at RB1 level this week? Kind of need it. I hope so. I mean, this is the Damian Harris game script. This is what you look for with a guy like Harris. I expect the Pats to dominate the Jets. Maybe not dominate, but at least, win and hold a lead for the majority of the game. And Harris thrives in those game scripts. Last week against Dallas, they held a lead for a lot of that game, and he had 18 for 101 and a touchdown. Like, that's the Damian Harris week. And against the Jets, I think he could post something similar, 100 yards and a touchdown. Hopefully he gets a reception or 2. I think he can do it this week. I think he's a pretty good start, actually. If you're just joining, thanks for hanging out. Talking week 7. We're talking trades. We're talking start sits. We're talking everything. So keep those questions coming. If you just want to talk about anything in the NFL, like it can be fantasy, it can be the MVP race, it can be your favorite team. You can ask me what my favorite beer is. Like, we're just hanging out here for a little while, talking week 7. It's a big one. It's a pivotal time of the year with all these buys. So keep those questions coming, and we'll have a good time here. So Anshul, I hope I didn't butcher that pronunciation. How worried should you be with Lockett? How hard should you be trying to trade him? I would be trying to trade Lockett right now. I'm concerned about Lockett. He's been a sit for me on my wide receiver start sits 2 weeks in a row. and he hasn't been good for fantasy since week 2. I mean, he's had 4 straight weeks where you're disappointed. Russell's probably going to miss a couple more. They got the bye in week 9. So you're looking at 3 more games where it's going to be hard to trust Tyler Lockett. When Russ comes back, hopefully he turns back into what he was before, which was still a little bit volatile. But I'd be looking to move Lockett if you can. All right, David, what's good? Russ in your IR spot, Carson clogging up bench space. I wouldn't ditch Carson. I wouldn't drop him just yet. I mean, you look at Chris Carson was last week. I just want to confirm. Last week was his first week on IR, or was it 2 weeks? So it looks like he's actually missed 2 weeks now. I don't know if he's able to come back in week 8. It looks like he might not actually be back until week 10 because the bye's in week 9. I'd stash Carson because down the stretch, you're going to want those valuable running backs. So I wouldn't ditch him. I wouldn't ditch him. Jack, would I send McLaurin for Ridley? I would rather have Ridley at this point. The Washington offense is looking questionable. I don't know how well Heineke can sustain this offense at all, even though McLaurin's the only guy there. So, yeah, I'd take Ridley. All right. Karn, what's up? Would I trade Devontae Smith or Pittman or Javonte Williams? I'm guessing this is Javonte Smith or Pittman for Javonte. Depends on if you need a running back. I think either of those would be a pretty fair trade, just position dependent. All those guys are in a similar tier, just depth pieces, flex options. Javonte probably has the most upside, but in a vacuum, like I'll take Pittman out of those guys just because the targets are there. I know he's been a little bit inconsistent himself. And I know I'm wearing the cold hoodie, so you might not believe me right now, but I would probably take Pittman. But Javonte arguably has the most upside if Melvin was to go down. All right, Carlos, I appreciate this one. When did I become passionate for fantasy and why? Honestly, I mean, I've been in the same home league that I've been in for, I think we're in year 8 or 9 now. And even before that, it wasn't official. And it was, we still play it every year with almost the same group of guys. So it's just something we started in school way, way, way back in the day. And now it's just been a good way to keep, my friend group together. Stef was in that original group as well. And it honestly, the best thing about fantasy, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, like last night was the Browns and the Broncos. Pretty disgusting game, honestly. Wouldn't have cared about that game at all, but I had Cortland Sutton playing in that home league. So guess who stayed up for the whole game and watched every single snap? It was me. So I love that it just brings people together, can keep you close with your friends, with coworkers, with whatever it is. And then it makes every single game interesting, which you just got to love. All right, Jack, do I think Najee or JT is the clear number 1 dynasty running back? Yeah, thanks for the dynasty question. I mean, we hit on dynasty here and there. We definitely talked about it in our Discord. That's in the link below if you want to join that discussion. But in the offseason, love the dynasty content. It's a lot of fun. And this past offseason, JT was already we did a Superflex startup draft. JT went 6th overall. Najee went in the 2nd round. He's certainly jumped. So I think these two guys are definitely in that top range. Depends on if you're trying to contend or not. McCaffrey and Cook are still going to be valuable. Kamara is still going to be valuable. But I'm probably taking Najee right now just because he does it all and the workload he gets. I love that workload that we're seeing from Najee. And who knows, if the Steelers get a quarterback upgrade, an offense upgrade in the future, Najee could just continue to be dominant. Qui-Gon. Another good question. How many leagues are you in? Because you got questions every single week. You got dilemmas you're dealing with left and right. And it's not just taking down, the empire. So your running back 2 is questionable because Barkley going down with an injury. Damian Harris. Yeah, I think Damian Harris is fine for now. I mean, I like Damian this week. And in the meantime, you can start Javonte. Last week for Javonte, or last night, I should say, is a perfect example of what your upside is with him right now. Only, 42% of snaps, but he got work in the receiving game, got the touchdown. He's been flirting around 10 points for the last several weeks, and he finally got in the end zone. So I think Javonte's fine just to get you through bye weeks. All right, we'll blaze through some of these questions. Thanks, everyone, for joining. If you're just hopping in, get those questions coming. Anything is on the table. Ask anything in this live stream. We're just hanging out, having a good time, talking week 7. I also want to know what y'all's records are. Who's 4-2, who's 5-1, who's struggling, who needs that comeback juice. I want to know. I want to know what's going down. But let's see, who should you start over Lockett in the flex? Mike Davis. I'd start Waddle or Myers over him this week, honestly. I like Waddle's matchup against the Falcons. I like Waddle's target share. I like his involvement. I know Devontae Parker might be back. Last I saw, Parker's questionable. Even so, I like Waddle. I mean, 13 targets last week, had that connection with Tua. I'd go Waddle, honestly, over Tyler Lockett, which is nuts. Oh, yeah, Devontae or Pittman for Williams. Yeah, if you need a running back, I don't mind trading either of those guys for Javonte. All right, let's see what we got here. Thinking about offering Javonte, Renfro, and Collins for Melvin and Adam Thielen. Bad idea. No, that's a good trade. I mean, honestly, Javonte has probably more upside, but Javonte and Melvin Gordon have been like clones so far this season. If you look at their snaps, if you look at their touches, I like Javonte better as a player at this point in time, but it's a push in terms of fantasy right now. And then, yeah, I would trade Renfro and Collins for Thielen all day. So, yeah, I like that. I like that move. I don't know what's going to happen with Thielen. He's been so good this year. I feel like I underrated him a lot in the offseason just because of the touchdowns. I didn't know if he could sustain it. And here we are. He has 5 touchdowns already this season. He's a top 12 fantasy wide receiver. So I guess I'm back in on Thielen for the rest of the season. He's proven me wrong. All right. Let's talk Lamar. Should you trade Adrian? What's good, by the way? Oh, Adrian beat your son. Okay. Easy now. Should you trade Lamar for a RB or wide receiver while also having Tom Brady in a 1 QB league? Yeah, absolutely. I just don't think there's a reason to hold both. I will say this, Lamar's bye, I'm 99% sure, is in week 8. So be thinking about that and just know that, and Brady's is in week 9. Yeah, Lamar's bye is in week 8. Brady's bye is in week 9. So for week 8 and week 9, you're going to need the other one. So maybe you wait and get closer to the playoffs when a team gets desperate and trade one of those guys. But if you have a need at running back, need at wide receiver, I'm fine to go for a guy you're going to start every single week. Like, that's what it's all about. You don't want these guys on your bench. You want guys that are going to score you points in your starting lineup. So maybe wait for the buys, but it just depends on the depth you got. Matt Ryan or Jameis Winston, PPR. Well, I don't know if either of them are going to be giving you a ton of value through the receiving game. I think Matt Ryan might have a career reception. Not sure about Jameis, but I'd go Matt Ryan this week against Miami. Miami's defense isn't great. I think if there's anyone Matt Ryan can kind of carve up, he's actually been hot lately, last 2 games. I mean, 42 attempts, 45 attempts. I think Matt Ryan's fine. I don't trust Jameis against Seattle. I don't know how that game's going to look, so I'd go Matt. And then here we go, Matt Ryan or Tua. I think this might be like the most popular question in our Discord so far this week is Matt Ryan or Tua going against each other. And I mean, these guys are so close for me, but just for the sake of consistency, assuming Tua is not traded, and I don't think he will be, but we'll see. I'm going Tua here. He just gives you a little bit more with his legs. Hopefully gets Devontae Parker back this week. Jalen Waddle's been a good playmaker, so I'll give it to Tua on that one. All right, Adrian's back. If we have to trade one, Knox, Goddard, Pitts, but someone dropped. Okay, we're gonna have to rephrase this one. Come back to me with this one. I know something about trading tight ends, but yeah, none of these guys need to be on waivers. All right, another quarterback question. Tough week for quarterbacks. We got what? Herbert, Dak, Josh Allen, even Kirk Cousins, who's normally like the premium streamer. He's on bye as well. So we got Tua, Wentz, Jameis, or Heineke. For me, this is easy. This is Tua. I love Wentz, repping my Colts sweatshirt. Just got this from Ultra Game, by the way. It's linked below. Really good stuff on Amazon. If you want to check out like a good NFL licensed brand on Amazon, check them out. Just they got stuff for every single team, so I had to give them that plug. But love my boy Wentz, but he just hasn't done it from a fantasy perspective. It's been good for the Colts. I think he's played fine all season long, but he's not doing it for fantasy. Similar story with Jameis. The volume's just not there. Heineke's been super volatile. I'll go with Tua. I like the matchup. And I think Tua is better than people give him credit for. So, let's go. We got some records dropping in. 4-2, started off 0-2. See, that's why you stick with it. You never know when that team's going to get hot. We got a 5-1 team here. Oh, dang. With some tough start-sit decisions. My big home league, I'm 4-2 right now. It's competitive, 14 team, 1 keeper. Stef is in there with me. I'm 4-2, so it's tough. Everyone's super sweaty in there. Anyone with a pulse is on a roster, but we'll see what happens. Got that Najee Kamara combo at running back, so they're kind of anchoring me right now. But we'll keep it rolling with these questions. Let's go. Have to drop one, Khalil Herbert or Damian Williams. I'd wait if you can and see if Damian's activated. If Damian's not activated, go ahead and drop him. Honestly, I'd probably roll with Khalil Herbert either way in this scenario. Like if they're both active in this game in a PPR league, I'm probably leaning Damian. So if you have the ability to wait, I would hold on to Damian and see, because he's the preferred start against the Bucs. But just I think Khalil Herbert's looked fine. So if you're thinking rest of the season, I like Herbert. That's a tough one. Oh, this is a good one. Do I think Derrick Henry will have a case for being the best running back of all time by the end of his career? I think it's possible. I mean, you look at Derrick Henry, this is his 6th season. 2018 is when he really busted onto the scene with 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, then 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns. He's on pace for over 2,000 yards and over 25 touchdowns right now. So he's 27 years old. It all depends on how many more years like this he can have. If he can put together several more 1,000-yard seasons and keep piling up the touchdowns, he'll be in the conversation. Definitely probably the best running back. Like if we don't think about the pass catching aspect we have right now, 6'3", 247, that's ridiculous. But if he has some more longevity, can keep piling on those stats, I think it's possible for sure. Appreciate you, David. Also, if you're hanging out, this kind of stuff makes me think of it sometimes, and you're not subscribed, check it out. We got start sits that come every single week. We got more live streams throughout the season. We have full pods with Stef and I where we just dive into some of these players, trade targets, breakouts, things like that, and it's a blast. So like and subscribe if you do appreciate it. That helps us out a ton. We got some more 4-2 teams. Let's go. Let's get some championships this year. Let's get it. Pagra, back like we never left. You already know it, Pagra. Yeah, love this. Love the Buy the Hype episode we put out yesterday. We talked about guys like Cordero Patterson, Hollywood Brown, Henry Ruggs. Should you be buying into this hype and roll with these guys for the rest of the season? Or are some of them sell highs? I think the Hollywood Brown comment here is a little giveaway on that one, but check that one out if you haven't. That was a fun one. Got into a lot of good takes there, but Mr. T, thanks for joining. Half PPR, Julio or Shepard. This might come down to which one of them plays, if either of them plays. Let me get the latest on Julio. I know Shepard's questionable. It sounds like he suffered a setback, which isn't great. And Julio, okay, an hour ago, Julio said he's feeling pretty good and is excited about week 7. So I'm probably going Julio here. I mean, if Julio's active and Shepard's not, it's easy. But I'll go Julio in the matchup against KC. Oh, we got an edit. Julio or Hardman. Yeah, if Julio's active, I'll go Julio. Qui-Gon, thanks for joining. Peace out, my friend. All right, welcome home 777. Mike Davis over Damian Harris. Did you mess up? No, I don't think so. I mean, Mike Davis has been kind of gross. If it's a PPR league, you're probably fine. Damian Harris gives you more weekly upside for sure, but Mike Davis, I mean, talk about a staple of consistency. Here's his PPR points so far this year. 10, 13, 11, 10, 12. Like as an RB2 in a deeper league, it's probably going to be fine. Seeing 12 carries and, 5 targets a game. So the volume's there. But he's just not going to win you a league. All right, this one's tough. I got some situations this week too where I got guys on bye, guys that are hurt, and I have nobody to drop. So I'm trying to figure out someone to drop to pick up a kicker, and it's tough. But Tom Brady, Zeke, Najee, Tyreek, McLaurin, Pitts, blah blah blah. A lot of guys here. Who do you drop? So if you have to drop one of this group, if you're able to go ahead and drop Jarvis Landry, that would be my pick of that bunch. Looks like he got hurt last night too. All right, what do you do with Ridley? He's been subpar this season. And Pitts Patterson. Yeah, I think Ridley's going to be fine. I know Ridley's been disappointing, but it's all about expectations. And when you really look at it, he hasn't been that bad. I mean, he's played 4 games. He had 5 for 51, 7 for 63 and a touchdown, 8 for 61 and 7 for 80. So none of those are really killing you. Coming off the bye, good matchup against Miami. I think Ridley will get his. So I'm not worried. I'd keep him. I'd buy low on him if you can. No, I don't think he has the top 3 upside we thought he had at the beginning of the season, but I think he's still a strong top 10 guy. All right, this is a good one, Jack. Who's the best dynasty wide receiver? If I was to draft after this season. So the dynasty questions, and we get into so much dynasty content in the offseason in the Discord as well. It's a ton of fun. Dynasty always just comes down to roster construction. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to compete now, or are you trying to rebuild? If it were me, here's some of the names I'd be thinking about as the dynasty wide receiver one. I think Tyreek Hill is still there. I mean, 27 years old and has upside like no other. Devontae Adams is still in the mix, 28 years old, so a little bit older. But I mean, this guy is such a cheat code with some of the targets. I mean, 16 targets in week 5, 18 targets in week 3. He's in the conversation. The Rodgers uncertainty definitely makes me a little nervous, though. But then if you do want to go with youth, to me, it's CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, all in that conversation. So those are probably the top 5. I might be forgetting somebody, but those are the guys that come to mind right off the bat for Dynasty. All right. You got Alex Collins filling in for Zeke's bye with Stevenson and Davis on the bench. All right. So if Collins is in, I think you can play him. Tough thing is it's Monday night, so you're probably not going to know. If you're talking Mike Davis on your bench, I think he's fine to play against Miami. Fairly safe start. He might be able to get as many points as Alex Collins anyway, and then you don't have to worry about Monday night coming around and Alex Collins not playing. So I think Mike Davis should be fine in a PPR league here for week 7. Phil is one of the double move sports OGs. We like Phil around here. Yeah, Phil, this has been a hot topic on here so far. I'll summarize for you. I don't know. I don't think he's going to take over after the bye. I honestly think Melvin Gordon's going to continue to be involved. That's my personal belief. I mean, their bye's in week 11, so maybe. But if you look at the snaps, you look at the touches this season, it's been pretty much a 50-50 split. These guys are splitting essentially every single drive, and Melvin Gordon's taken more snaps in every single game except one where Javonte had 51% and Melvin had 49%. So I think Javonte's a better player. I think he looks better on the field right now. But as long as Melvin's healthy, I just don't see it going one way or another. I think Javonte's time is going to come in 2022. All right. If you're just joining, thanks for hanging out. Be here for another, 30 minutes or so, just talking week 7, talking start sits. Again, as always, give us that like if you appreciate the content. Subscribe as well. Helps out the channel a ton. We got another podcast coming out. It's going to be either later today or tomorrow for week 7. So it never stops. We got start sits every single week, player takes and podcasts every single week with their live streams in as well. So be sure to subscribe to not miss a single thing and to make sure you're winning your leagues. But let's hop into more of these questions. And again, love the start sit questions. Love the trade questions. And I also love questions just about the NFL, about, Stef and I's home leagues. Love all that stuff too. So if you got anything to ask, be sure to throw it in there. Coming at you live today from Tampa, Florida, by the way. But let's get into more of these questions. Jack, should you send Amari Cooper and Fournette for Diggs? Wow, that's a tough one. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably keep the Amari Cooper and Fournette side. Fournette, to me, I mean, Stef has been all over this one. He's a top 12 back for me the rest of the way, honestly. Fournette's been fantastic. Let me pull up. I want to look at his workload here because it's just been unbelievable. I mean, yeah, 22 carries and 6 targets against Philly last week. You look at the numbers on the season, I'm doing some quick math in my head. It's like 15 carries and 5 targets a game. That's close to bell cow workload. So I like Fournette there, honestly. Pagra, Javante, top 12 dynasty running back. Oof, that's tough. I mean, you got Najee. I'm just naming names here off the top of my head. You got Najee. You got JT. I still take Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara. Let's see who else we got. I mean, Cam Akers now with the injury, probably not over Javante. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I might take Clyde Edwards-Helaire. No, I'm taking Javante over CEH at this point as well. Yeah, I mean, Zeke is there, but Javante's young. He's got that juice. Aaron Jones. I mean, yeah, I think Javante's in the conversation. There's a lot of names in that tier. I put him a tier behind, the DeAndre Swifts of the world right now, a tier behind the Antonio Gibsons. But I wouldn't be surprised if this time next year we were talking about him as someone you should have bought low on when you had the chance. And after last night's game, that ship might have sailed. But yeah, loving Javante, especially in Dynasty. Loving him in Dynasty. All right, PPR, Woods, Lockett, Waddle, Shepard, or Pittman. I'm going Bobby Trees there, locking Robert Woods in that revenge game for Stafford. Steven Drakes, what's good? Appreciate you a ton. Let's get into this question. How do I feel about all of these guys? All right. First up, we got Elijah Mitchell. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, and Jamison Crowder, half PPR. Oof. To me, I'll start on the back. I'll start with Jamison Crowder. He's a floor play. In full PPR, a little bit more appealing to me. In half PPR, I don't know if you're going to get enough there. It's against New England. It's going to be a grinded out game. I'll pull up the over-under on this one as well. I can't imagine it's much higher than 42 points. But Crowder in a half PPR, you're hoping maybe 6 targets, maybe gets 5-6 catches, not a ton of yards. Yeah, 42.5 point over-under. So in a half PPR, probably fading Crowder this week when you have some of these other options. Ayuk against the Colts, there's a narrative there coming off the bye. Maybe he gets more involved. Jimmy G's back. That should help him. I think Trey Lance is better for the team. So there's a narrative that can be built for Ayuk, but a lot of uncertainty. Amon-Ra, I actually really like. In a half PPR, again, he's kind of similar to a Crowder. In a half PPR, Amon-Ra, last 3 weeks, 8 targets, 7 targets. He's more involved than Jamison Crowder is. I think the Lions' offense is a little better than the Jets at this point, even though it's tough to pick between those two. And then Elijah Mitchell, I really do think is going to be the guy. I mean, Trey Sermon, when Mitchell has been active, has been irrelevant. So you look at Mitchell, even in week 5, 9 carries, 2 targets. In week 2, 17 carries. In week 1, 19 carries. So of this group, you're not in love with any of them, but in a half PPR, I think I'm going Elijah Mitchell there. And I'm hoping for 60, 70 yards in the touchdown against Indy. All right, if I have to pick one, Ertz or Goddard, I'm going Goddard. Doesn't have to change systems, doesn't have to change teams. All he's doing is getting more routes, more targets, more snaps up there in Philly. All right, Michael Brown, thanks for hanging out. Also, if you're just joining us, drop those questions and we're going to get to all of them here today, talking week 7 and anything else, honestly. Anything else you got. I want to hear some hot takes in the chat as well. Someone throw a hot take in there so we can talk about it. But Michael, should you trade Gibson for Keenan Allen? Running backs are Zeke, Eckler, Gibson, Javante. Okay, wide receivers are DK, McLaurin, Woods, and Tony. So at running back, you got Zeke. I mean, your bye week's going to be stressful this week, but you got Zeke and Eckler moving forward with Javante and Mitchell as some depth with Pollard as the handcuff. Receivers, DK, McLaurin, Woods, Tony. Yeah, I think you can do it. I mean, I usually favor running back depth over receiver depth, but I like the move for your team. Yeah, I think I'd take Keenan Allen there. If you're doing a super flex dynasty league, is Mahomes the first pick no matter what? For me, it is. There's varying, discussion here. I was in a super flex dynasty this past offseason. It was McCaffrey, but it's always been McCaffrey or Mahomes. And now with McCaffrey a year older, with the injuries, obviously, I think it's definitely Mahomes right now. Waddle or Parker. This one's Jalen Waddle. Mr. T, full PPR, Higgins or Julio. I don't trust Julio right now. I know the matchup is good against the Chiefs, but I think Higgins is still a good enough option, even against Baltimore, where you can go T Higgins there. So yeah, I'll go T. David, I appreciate you. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Steph and I we're working as hard as we can, trying to crank it up this year. for sure. But let's rate these three wide receivers rest of season: Hopkins, Lamb, and Godwin. Tight end Ertz and Hunter Henry. So, I mean, those are three great receivers. To me, I think I'm probably taking Hopkins number one of that crew. CD would be my 2 and Godwin my 3. And I think Ertz is probably someone in Arizona you can start most weeks, hope for some good involvement, hope for a touchdown. So appreciate you, David. Thanks for the shout out. Oh, we got a hot take from Jack. I need to see some more hot takes in the chat. Let's get it going. Mac Jones is the best quarterback out of the draft class. What do we think about that? It's possible. I mean, Zach Wilson doesn't look great. Trevor Lawrence has showed flashes, but honestly, to date, like Justin Fields hasn't looked good. Trey Lance, we'll see. But Mac Jones, to me, has shown the most. He showed the most resiliency. He's shown the most. He's gone through the most, too. You think about what these guys have experienced. Mac's been in close games. He's had to come from behind in games. He had to go against Tom in New England. Like, Mac Jones is already picking up critical experience that's going to help him out a ton. So I do love what I've seen from Mac, but I still want to see Trey Lance get some more action. I still want to see Justin Fields get a little bit more action. So we'll see. All right, Khalil Herbert, Carter, or Gibson need one. Antonio Gibson, if he's active, is the pick. Love these quarterback stream questions. Tough week for quarterbacks. Carr, Tua, or Darnold? It's Tua. I think Carr is a good streamer this week as well. This is actually the exact decision I have to make in a dynasty league. It's a 2 QB or it's a super flex, and I'm deciding between Carr and Tua. I flipped it back and forth a few times. Right now I have Tua in. I'm hoping he can give me a little bit extra on the ground. He's not the runner you'd think he was, but if he can give me 20, 30 yards, that's enough of an additional floor and a good matchup where I'm going to give the edge to Tua. All right, Michael Carter or Mike Davis. I'll go Mike Davis there in PPR. I just don't trust the Jets. I just don't trust the Jets at all. All right, Patty, trying to trade away Gibson for a receiver. What receivers do you think you could get for him? Well, I think anyone in that kind of wide receiver 2 range. Think about a Chris Godwin, an Amari Cooper, a Mike Evans. Those are probably the guys you're looking at. Maybe a Calvin Ridley. I'd like to do that deal if I'm you. So, yeah, think about that range for wide receivers. Santom21, appreciate you. I got you covered here. Corey Davis or Ertz in the flex. Ugh. See, I think Ertz is actually interesting with some upside this week. And honestly, every week with Arizona, but against Houston, here's my take on this game. Like, Arizona's going to win. Arizona's going to jump on them early. I think it could be a grinded out type of second half. We'll see. They're going to take the pedal off the metal at some point. So if Ertz is a part of that lead, if Kirk, if AJ Green, if Rondale, they're part of building the lead, they're going to have a good game. But if it gets to halftime and these guys haven't put up any production, like, you're going to start sweating a little bit. So I'll probably go Corey Davis there, even though I don't trust the Jets. He's got that big play potential. And one play, Corey Davis is a one-play guy. Julio or Waddle in the flex full PPR. I'll go Waddle in these PPRs. He's getting the targets. He's breaking out already as a rookie, so I'll go Jalen Waddle. All right. Devontae Freeman over Gibson with Latavius Murray out. Nope. Antonio Gibson all day. Let's keep this thing rolling. Hot take. Chiefs are no longer a top 4 contender. Interested to see who your top 4 would be. I'm imagining Arizona's in there. I'm imagining the Bucks. But if the Chiefs aren't in the Bills, if the Chiefs aren't in the top 4, who's in there? All right, Ciara Moore. Higgins or Mooney in the flex. PPR leaning Higgins side. I'm leaning the Higgins side as well. Mooney, I like his opportunity this week against a banged up Bucks secondary. He's been getting the targets, but yeah, I'll trust Higgins in that talent. Sam Tom, appreciate you. Thanks for subscribing. If you're hanging out, you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so. We got some good stuff coming. We got start sit videos for you at running back and wide receiver every week. We got full pods. You're going to want to be notified when we're hopping onto more live streams in the future. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. Honestly, a like helps us out a ton as well. So appreciate y'all hanging out. It's already been a blast. We got, 20, 30 more minutes here. It's going to be good. Keep the questions coming. Lamar, Dak, and Brady start too. Well, Dak's getting 0 this week because he's on bye. So that's Lamar and Brady. And now with Lamar and Tom, who do you start? This is tough. Lamar versus Brady. I'll probably go Lamar against Cincinnati. Give me that rushing upside every single week. All right, Atlas Young, what's good? T. Higgins, Julio Jones, or Christian Kirk? I'm going to keep going T. Higgins. Everyone's questioning T. Higgins, and I know he's been disappointing, but I believe in T. Tough matchup against Baltimore, but since he's come back from the injury, still 7 targets, 6 targets. I believe in the talent, so I think T. Higgins bounces back. Is Dallas Goedert a top 10 tight end this week? Yes, he sure is. Yes, he sure is against the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm rolling out Goddard if I can, unless I have one of those top guys. Wow, this is a hot take. AB is a top 12 receiver in the league, maybe even top 10. Very hot take. Very hot take. I mean, you could have the narrative of like all those other Tampa options take the attention off AB so he's able to eat. But you also could have the narrative like put AB on a team where he's the clear number 1 and he could eat. So I'm not saying I agree with you, but I'm not saying it's that crazy. Balloons, battles. I have so many questions for you too, but should you trade Jalen Hurts, DK Metcalf, and Pittman for Mahomes, Thielen, and Moss? So Mahomes is a clear upgrade to Hurts. Honestly, right now, feels like Thielen's an upgrade to DK with Russ out. And Pittman, Zach Moss. Ooh, this is tricky. Thielen's been good, man. Thielen's been so good. And who knows what's going to happen with DK for the next 3-4 weeks with Russell out. This is so tough. I'll probably stick with the Hurts side for now. Unless you need wins right now, I'd stick with the Hurts side. Would I drop Russell Wilson for Michael Thomas? No IR spot. They're probably going to be back around the same time. So it just depends on if you need a quarterback or receiver. I'd be willing to, though. I'd be willing to. All right. Sam Darnold or Lamar Jackson for QB, just saying because Sam is a start this week. I'm going Lamar, no doubt about it. And then another one, would I rather have Jerry Jeudy, I'm guessing, or Michael Thomas? I'm going Jerry Jeudy. I'm going Jerry Jeudy. There's less nebulous energy surrounding Jerry Jeudy. He could be back week 8. So, yeah, I'll go Jeudy. Michael Brown, back with another question. Thanks for hanging out with us for so long. Tannehill, Tua, or Darnold this week? Josh Allen on bye. This is probably Ryan Tannehill for me against the Chiefs. I know he's been disappointing, but they're going to have to keep up. Looks like A.J. Brown and Julio are both going to be out there, so I'll go Tannehill. I do like Tua a lot as well. All right, Patty, should you trade away Waller for Justin Jefferson? Probably not. I like the elite tight end. Unless you have Kelsey, unless you have Pitts, unless you have Andrews, I'm not even thinking about that trade, honestly. Here we go. Can we drop Boyd? 4 running backs, lost CH and Carson, play Javonte and McKissick, need more depth. Adams, Hill, Myers. You can. I think you can. It all depends on league size. It all depends on the number of bench spots you have, whether you have an IR. I'm in a 14-team home league with 6 bench spots, and it's like if you got a pulse and you're on waivers, you're on a roster. Like, you guys would be surprised if I told you, like, Deontay Harris is starting in that league this week. So obviously in that league, Tyler Boyd would go for like all of someone's fab. But if you're in a 10-team, a 12-team league, I think you can drop Boyd. Oh, here's the contenders from Adrian over the Chiefs. Bucks, Bills, Cardinals, Cowboys. Wow. We'll see. We will see. With Jeudy coming back, is Sutton still a viable option? Yeah, I think he is. I mean, if you watched the game last night, I started Sutton last night in a big-time league, and it was disappointing just because the volume wasn't there. It was one of those games where it was like long drives. Browns kept picking up third downs. Broncos couldn't do anything. It was frustrating. But Sutton, Still looked great when he got targets. He was getting open, made some great plays, made the most of his opportunities. And in most weeks, the Broncos are going to run more than 49 plays. Teddy's going to throw it a little bit more. So, I think Sutton is still going to be startable every week. A.J. Dillon, Michael Carter, or Khalil Herbert in the flex. Ooh, man. I'm probably going Khalil Herbert. I'm not feeling great about it. That's a tough one. That's brutal. T. Higgins or Devontae Smith. I know I have been given a lot of Higgins hype. We haven't talked Devontae Smith a lot. Last week against Tampa was gross. Smith has been 3 weeks that you're happy with, 3 weeks where he sucked for fantasy. So against Vegas this week, I'm liking Smith. Yeah, I'll go Devontae Smith there. All right, Gainwell, Dillon, Ricky Seals-Jones, or Stevenson for a flex. Man, it's deep out there, isn't it? Also, I want to hear who is like the nastiest player you're having to start in a league this week, because these are getting brutal, and I know it's rough out there, but let's see. Not Gainwell. As crazy as this sounds, if Ricky Seals-Jones is active, I know he's questionable. Oh, he's all set. I'm going Ricky Seals-Jones. I mean, you look at the last 2 games, 9 targets and 6 targets, 5 for 41, and then 4 for 58 and a touchdown. They play Green Bay this week. Could Ricky Seals-Jones go for 5 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown? I'd say he could. So I'm probably going RSJ. U-Bell, what's good? Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for hanging out. I'll take another opportunity to just say, if you're chilling with us here today, drop that like, helps us out a ton, and subscribe to get all the good Double Move Sports content. Also, everyone who's joining us from the Discord, thanks for hopping in here. If you're not in the Discord, it's a great community. It's where Stef and I are hanging out, answering these questions 24/7 essentially, and our community's in there giving feedback as well. We talk dynasty, we talk trades, we talk start sits, we give announcements. It's free. It's in the link below. If you're not in the Discord and you want to be a bigger part of the Double Move community, we really appreciate that. And be sure to join. But let's keep this going. Thoughts on Devontae Booker? He's just a volume play, and on a week like this, he's probably going to be in your lineup. I mean, even last week, 12 carries, 4 targets. It was a disgusting game for the Giants, and he was fine. So in this bipocalypse, you're probably starting Booker. So yeah, it's kind of nasty against Carolina. Their defense has been all right, but if you do have Devontae Booker, definitely is someone I'm willing to start. Let's keep those questions coming, hanging out for 10, 15 more minutes. If you got anything, be sure to throw it in there now. I think Stef may or may not be hopping in for a live stream this weekend, but let's see if any news is broken as well. So let's see who's in, who's out. So Latavius Murray's out. Devontae Parker is going to be questionable. Jimmy Graham on the COVID list, we probably don't care, but he's out Sunday. Looks like Julio's going to play. That's the big shock to me. Julio looks like he is going to play. And I think that's all the news we got right now. Allen Robinson, questionable officially. TJ Hawkinson, on track to play. No surprise there. He should be good to go. Let's see what's up with Trey Lance. Not practicing again. So Trey Lance hasn't practiced at all this week. Really looks like Lance isn't going to be available. Not that it mattered if he wasn't starting, but keep these questions going. Matt Ryan or Sam Darnold? Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan for sure. Hot take, Julio will never be the same player and is no better than a wide receiver 3, maybe 2 on a good night. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that's that hot of a take. I mean, he hasn't done much this year. Was in and out with the hammy last year. The situation's changed. I think from a fantasy perspective, like Julio's past the Julio of old, and now it's just about, can he be an effective wide receiver late in his career? Kind of like we saw from Andre Johnson back in the day. We've seen it from, I mean, we're looking at it from AJ Green now. Obviously, he's, not nearly the player Julio is at this point, but these guys, when they hit that wall, they fall off. Julio's a talented enough player where he's still going to make the plays like we saw on Monday night, that ridiculous catch. But the volume, the clear wide receiver 1, the 1,500-yard seasons, not sure about those. Not sure about those. All right, Ubel. Thanks for hopping in. You need to flex from waivers, don't we all? Collins, Booker, Dillon, Michelle, and Myers, Crowder, Smith, Renfro, Ruggs available. Who would I pick? Honestly, I'm going Henry Ruggs. I'm just going for the deep shot against Philly. It's a bargain. Myers is probably the safe pick against the Jets for target volume, but Ruggs, like, give me the 5 Ruggs targets and let me hope that one of them goes for 50 yards and a touchdown. All right, Mr. T. Should you drop Boyd for Gaskin, Ingram, or Tyson Williams? If you're desperate for a running back, maybe drop him for Gaskin. Otherwise, I'd probably just hold on to Boyd right now. All right, Carlos, do we have PPR leagues for next year that we open up with other people for buy-in money? That's all in the Discord. Thanks for asking. We have joined a DMS league in our Discord. So if you're interested in joining, we have Dynasty leagues that are starting up. If you've never played Dynasty before, like, that's the place to be. Stef and I are normally in those leagues as well. Usually at least one of us is in there. We're in one right now with people from the Discord, and it's been an absolute blast. We haven't done any redraft for this year. Into next year, we might and probably will get into some of that. So if you want a shot to play against me and Stef, take us down, play with other people in the double move community for money as well, and find some good leagues. The Discord is a great way to do that. People are starting Christian Kirk and they want to sit T. Higgins. Who do I think is going to get more points? Yeah, I'd go T. Higgins there. I think Kirk could, but it's one of those things. Like, it's the Cardinals roulette wheel at the wide receiver spot. And if it's not Kirk in the first half of this game against Houston, it might get rough. So yeah, I'd go T. Higgins there. Do I think Bell is playable since Murray is out? No. Fading Le'Veon Bell. Desperate, I know. I want to know who your other options are. I mean, if it's no one, then maybe. I mean, everyone, there's that threshold for everyone where you'd start him. But if you look at Le'Veon last week, he had the touchdown, but he had 8 carries for 18 yards. Like, that's gross. So I'm absolutely not trying to play Le'Veon Bell. All right, Dar, start Chuba Hubbard this week. Yeah, I think you can. I think Chuba's a good play against the Giants. And one more from Michael. Would it be an overpay to trade Gibson and Woods for D-Hop? If you have depth at running back, I think that's a good trade. D-Hop hasn't been there from a volume perspective so far. But yeah, I think that's a fine trade if it makes sense for your roster. This is a good one. Drop Boyd for the upside of Jeff Wilson Jr. Jeff Wilson, I mean, it still might be a month before he comes back. So if you have an IR spot, sure. But if not, I'd probably just hang on to Boyd for now. Also, if you're just joining us, thank you so much for hopping in. We got a little more time here to answer some questions, talk week 7, talk trades, talk everything else. And yeah, feel free to drop anything in that chat. Ask about our home league, ask about your favorite team, ask about our Super Bowl predictions, start sits, trades, ask about beer, movies, whatever you got. Hanging out for a few more minutes here, answering some questions. Got to get ready for this Bipocalypse, man. It's brutal. I'm actually in one league where for the first time I think ever, I don't have a single player in the 1 o'clock slate of games. So I'm actually going to get to sit back and relax at 1 o'clock and start stressing about 4 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. But here we go, Tobias. Most starters out or injured. Should you start Darnold with Robbie and Allen Robinson, or pick up Fields with Robinson and Mooney? Oh, this is stressful. This is a tough one. So I'd probably go Darnold in this situation. I'd probably go Darnold in the good matchup against the Giants, and I'd probably stack with Robbie. I mean, Robbie's been bad, 11 targets last week, and he turned it into, I'll check this, I think 3 catches. Yeah, 11 targets, 3 catches for 11 yards and a touchdown. So Robbie's been brutal, but I think in a tough bye week, Darnold and Robbie against the Giants, you could do a lot worse. I just don't want to trust that Bears stack right now with how that team is playing. So I lean the Panthers, but it definitely doesn't feel great. Ooh, crushed by the Bipocalypse. Gainwell, Ingram, Hines, and Bernard are available. And this is all compared to Le'Veon Bell. I would go with any of those guys over Le'Veon Bell. I'd probably pick Hines. I know Hines has been disappointing, to say the least. But in that Sunday night game, you can hope for a couple of targets. Maybe if the Colts get behind in that game, they rely on Hines a little bit more. You look at Hines' last several games against Houston, they dominated, didn't need him, 23% of snaps. Against Baltimore, they dominated until the very end, so they didn't need Hines. Only had one target. Against Miami, they dominated, only 2 targets. And then Tennessee is when they lost, and that's when Hines had 6 targets. Against Seattle, he had 8 targets. So I think you take the shot on Hines in a PPR and just hope that the Colts trail at some point in that game. Gibson and Woods for Henderson. Yeah, I take Darrell Henderson there. Darrell Henderson is a buy all around for me. I love Darrell Henderson right now. Absolute workhorse. Gets receiving work as well. All in on Darrell for the rest of the season. No doubt about it. All right. Let's see. Got about 5 more minutes. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. If you have any final questions, drop them in now. Otherwise, going to be hopping out here at about 4 Eastern time. But let's get a quick take on Kyle Pitts. I'm in on him for the rest of the year. The volume has been there. We know the talent's there. Now the production is finally catching up with that volume. So I think he's a top 5 tight end the rest of the year. I said it on our podcast this week. He is a top 5 tight end for me. It's Kelsey, it's Waller, it's Hockenson, it's Andrew, and Pitts. That's my top 5. I have Pitts ahead of Kittle for the rest of the season. Couple last ones here. Thoughts on Keenan Allen rest of the season? I think he'll bounce back. I think he's a buy low right now, especially while he's on his bye week, if you can do it. I think he'll be fine. All right, trying to trade Ridley. You have DK. Trade for Ridley. You have DK, Sutton, Waddle, Jones, D. Johnson, and Kittle. If you can package Sutton and Waddle for Ridley, that's the kind of move I'd be willing to do for sure. And then should you trade Leonard Fournette for Darrell Henderson? I love Fournette, love the workload he's getting, but yeah, I'll take Darrell Henderson there all day long. Last question from OG Rivera. Need a fix. AJ Brown, Metcalf, Hollywood, Mike Evans. Pick 3 for a start. Wow, you got a good problem this week. I'll go AJ, Metcalf, and Mike Evans for week 7, full PPR. Good luck to you this week. But that's going to do, you guys. If you like the live streams, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a ton, and we have a lot more coming. A lot of good content coming through the rest of the season as we get these championships. If you want to continue the conversation, just join that Discord in the link below. Totally free to join. Also have to plug it one more time. Got the Ultra Game hoodie from Amazon. That is in the link below. Best NFL licensed apparel on Amazon, no doubt. If you want good team gear for any team, you want high quality products for a good price, Ultra Game's the way to go. This jacket legitimately blew me away. Great styles as well. So thank you guys so much for hanging out, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.